June is nearly over, but not before our first big update to Risk of Rain 2. If you've been waiting patiently for the first big content patch to drop, your wait is officially over. My name is Codiak, and today I'll break down all the new features and changes in Risk of Rain 2. Half plant, half robot, the first big change to Risk of Rain 2 is the addition of a brand new survivor, Rex. This playable character has an incredibly unique moveset that combines elements of long-range combat with lifesteal and crowd control. He's relatively slow, but is massively effective in the early game, and with the right gear is a powerhouse in endgame content. If you still haven't unlocked Rex, check out our 1-minute guide so you can pick him up and play him for yourself. The patch is officially called the Scorched Acres update, but there is nothing scorched about the newest map in the game. Well, technically there is in the background, but don't worry about that. With a beautiful sunset vibe, you'll make your way across a number of floating islands adorned with small obstacles and littered with familiar enemies. The map makes good use of verticality with multiple layers of complexity that gives players tons of options to explore. The Scorched Acres map slides into the third slot with Rally Point Delta. With a new map also comes a new boss in the Grovetender, the caretaker of the Scorched Acres. This massive enemy will fire barrage after barrage of wisps at the player that will detonate on contact. Occasionally, the Grovetender will use a special ability that will hook and pull any players it hits towards it, dealing massive damage. Along with the new boss, a new enemy, the Clay Templar, will make your life incredibly challenging. Equipped with a minigun type weapon, players will have to avoid a constant barrage of damage or risk getting shredded to pieces. The Clay Templar is a formidable opponent and one that needs to be dealt with quickly to avoid instant death. Finally, to round off the challenges that players will face, a new enemy AFFIX, MALACHITE, will give enemies at the higher tier unique abilities. One such ability will give enemies the ability to disable player healing, which, as you know, is a big deal in the late game. Now, what would new challenges be without new items and equipment to take on those threats? Well, the team has added a handful of new gear for players to unlock and use, and I'll quickly run down the list now with each new item, starting with the most common and working our way up to the lunars and equipment. First up is the Topaz Brooch, which grants players a 20 health temporary barrier after each kill. Next, we have the Old Guillotine, which instantly kills elite monsters below 20%. Now this one is interesting because the threshold for the kill gets moved up by 5% for each stack of the item. 10 guillotines would instantly kill any elite under 65% health. Just something to think about. Moving into the uncommon items, we have the Warhorn, which grants players 70% attack speed every time equipment is activated. Stacking this item extends the duration of the effect, not the attack speed boost, which is important to note when building out a kit. Our new legendary, the Aegis, is a defensive item that converts overhealing into a barrier that protects the players for up to 20% of the player's maximum health. Each stack of the item increases the threshold by 20%. With the new patch, we also get two new boss items, the Halcyon Seed and the Little Disciple. The Halcyon Seed summons Aurelia Knight during a teleporter event with 100% damage and 100% health. The Little Disciple is a unique item that fires a tracking wisp every 0.5 seconds while sprinting that deals 100% damage. In terms of lunar items, the Spinel Tonic is new to the game, which grants players a boost for 15 seconds, increasing damage by 100%, attack speed by 70%, armor by 20%, maximum health by 50%, health regen by 300%, and move speed by 30%. Once the tonic wears off, there is a 20% chance that the player will gain Tonic Affliction, reducing all stats by 5%. To wrap up items, we have to talk about equipment, and technically we have two, but one is the fuel array, which is used to unlock the new character, Rex. The team also introduced the eccentric vase into the game, which, when activated, creates a tunnel up to 1,000 meters in length for 30 seconds. Players can use the tunnel to move quickly between points. Some existing items also got a rework with the new patch, but instead of reading off each item, I wanted to make a quick infographic to help visualize all the changes. When playing Risk of Rain 2, you may also notice some gameplay changes, thanks to the Scorched Acres update, which includes new chests on each map. Occasionally, you'll run across red, green, or purple boxes, which correspond with new damage, utility, and healing items. It's a great way for players to have a little more control about the items they try and pick up. Additionally, legendary chests can now spawn on any stage post-loop. While this adds some more randomness into the whole process of building out your character, the chance to pick up a legendary item after every stage is huge in the big picture. Some big changes were also made to each of the survivors except for the Commando and Multi, which were untouched. The team made changes to the Huntress's Arrow Rain ability to make it more cylindrical, which should help it reach aerial enemies. Additionally, the Arrow Rain jump will now properly scale with animation speed and attack speed for more consistent gameplay. Finally, the logic behind Strafe was tweaked to prevent double firing, and the team adjusted Blink to prevent animation clipping. Moving to the Engineer, the only change was a nerf to the turret's base damage from 19 down to 16. The Artificer was likewise barely changed, with a new hover feature added to the jump, a new crosshair, and a new bloom effect added to Firebolt. Finally, the Mercenary got some necessary tweaks to make the Survivor more durable during intense battles. True invincibility was added during Eviscerate and Blinding Assault, and a lingering invincibility was added for 0.6 seconds after Eviscerate ends. Additionally, Blinding Assault now properly deducts 1 from stock when timed out, rather than resetting all the way to 0. And finally, a safe movement was added similar to Huntress to prevent geometric clipping. To wrap up, a number of quality of life changes were made to the game, and again, I encourage you to go check out the full patch notes for yourself if you want every detail laid out in front of you. A lot of the changes have to do with a player's UI, like adding a flashing component to players with low health and adjusting scaling and opacity of elements to make more critical information clear. In addition to being completely expected, a number of bug fixes were made, typos fixed, and behind the scenes things tweaked to give players an overall better experience. Scorched Earth is a great first step towards the official launch of Risk of Rain 2 in 2020. With a new survivor, new boss, new enemies, new map, and a handful of new items, the team is setting the bar high for more content in the future. If you've checked out the new content, let us know what you think, leave us a comment in the section below, and share your thoughts about Scorched Earth, or join myself and the rest of the Game Gurus community on Discord to keep the conversation going after the video is over. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at the Game Gurus, thanks for watching, and play on.